Today we're going to be doing a get to know me video about Lincoln. Are you excited? Ah, it's going to be so good. See the camera? Hi. Okay, so Lincoln.
Yes.
When you were born,
Yes.
you had to stay in the hospital a little bit longer.
Yes.
How long did you stay in the hospital for? This isn't anything that you would remember. This would just be things that you were told.
A few months.
Yeah, you were in the hospital for 4 months.
Oh.
That is so long. Do you know how many days that is?
How many?
That's 120 days.
Oh.
That's a lot of days, huh?
Yes.
So when I was pregnant with Lincoln, I had some complications. And the first complication I had was when I was about 9 weeks pregnant. And we had to go to the hospital and kind of see what was going on because there was just some abnormal things happening. And they did an ultrasound and they said, baby's fine. We don't really know what's going on, but you're good, he's good, everything's fine. So I went home. And then I got a virus. And the virus wasn't harmful to me. It's kind of like a cold, but it was harmful to you in my belly.
Yes.
So then I had to go to a specialist. I had to go to a doctor so the doctor could check on me every month.
Yes.
And then when I went, they found a blood clot in my uterus.
Yes.
And so they were really worried about that because they didn't really know if that meant that you were going to be able to keep living and growing.
Oh.
Yep. So they kept watching you. But then at 18 weeks along, at 4, 8, 12, 16, 4.5 months along, my water broke.
Yeah.
So that was the amniotic fluid that's in there for the baby in your belly, in my belly.
Yep.
It's what the babies swim in, and it helps the baby's lung develop, and it helps multiple things. And so my water broke, and your water's not supposed to break till right before you're supposed to have the baby. For some miraculous reason, I didn't go into labor. You stayed in my tummy.
What's labor?
That's when it's time for the baby to come out. That's when your body says, okay, baby's ready to come out.
Oh.
But you're not normally ready to have a baby till you're 9 months pregnant, and I was only 4.5 months pregnant.
Oh.
So for 2 more months, you stayed in my belly.
Yep.
And we had to go to the doctor every week to go get an ultrasound and to do a non-stress test and all these things. The day that you were born,
Yep.
Daddy took me to one of our checkups for them to make sure everything was going good.
Yep.
And everything was good. Everything looked great.
Yes.
You were doing good, I was doing good. And then we went home, and then Daddy went to work. And then all of a sudden, I just started not feeling very good. So I paid attention to my pain because my pain would come and go. And finally, I called Daddy and I said, I think the baby's coming. I think he's trying to come out of my tummy. And he said, okay, I'll come back home and we'll go to the hospital. So we went to the hospital, and at this point I was only 28 weeks along. So I was only 7 months pregnant, which you don't have a baby till you're 40 weeks. Daddy came home and he took me to the hospital, and they gave me a shot at the hospital that would make my labor stop, which would make my body stop being ready to have you come out of my tummy. And then Dr. Berry said, you know what? I think we need to have the baby. I think it's time for the baby to come out. So they had to do an emergency C-section. I was so scared when you were coming that you wouldn't cry, because one of the biggest things they said is your lungs might not develop. And if your lungs don't develop, that means you can't breathe. And if you can't breathe, then what? Then can't live. You have to have your lungs. But when they pulled you out of my tummy, guess what you did?
What?
You let out a big old cry. That's what babies do when they're born, and that's always a good sign. And then they had to take you away to the NICU because you were very, very, very sick. You were very sick. So when they were ready for me to come see you, I was able to come see you. And the first time I saw you, you were hooked up to all kinds of tubes and wires and all these things. And I cried really, really hard.
What?
Because I was so happy that you were alive. But I was so scared because I didn't know what was going to happen. And I didn't want you to be sick. So when you were born, look, look at this little teeny tiny diaper.
Yes.
This is the size of diaper you wore. This right here
Yeah.
is a newborn diaper. A baby born at the time they're supposed to be born. That's the size of diaper they wear. The little preemie diaper is pretty small. When you were born, I got one of these diapers and I held it and I kept it under my pillow every night. And when I was scared or I was thinking about you and I couldn't be with you, this is the actual diaper.
Oh.
It's really dirty, huh?
Yeah.
It's because I had it and held on to it a lot. When Brooklyn was first born, her diaper looked like this. And when you were first born, your diaper looked like that. So when you were born, you were 2 pounds 5 ounces. That's so teeny tiny.
Yeah.
Teeny, teeny, tiny. And do you remember what kind of bed that you were in? We talked about this.
What?
An incubator.
Yes.
Yeah, so an incubator is just a bed that has like a lid and sides to protect the baby. Okay, I need to show you this. This is super, super cool. Look at this. Do you know what this is?
A binky?
That's a binky. This is a regular size binky. A baby that's born on time. This is for a baby that was born early. Look how teeny. So yeah, that's the normal size binky for a baby born at term. And this is the little teeny tiny binky for babies that are born prematurely.
Yeah.
When you were born, because you were born so early, there were parts of your body that weren't ready. That's why babies stay in their mommy's bellies for so long, because there's stuff they need to do to get ready. You had a brain bleed. And the reason why you had a brain bleed is because everybody has blood vessels in their brains. And your blood vessels, they weren't developed all the way. So your blood vessels in your brain broke. Some of them broke. And do you know what's inside of blood vessels?
What?
Blood.
Oh.
So if something breaks and something's in it, what happens? It comes out.
Yeah.
So the blood came out of your blood vessels and it came onto your brain, and you're not supposed to have anything on your brain. Your brain is protected by your skull and by cerebral spinal fluid, and there's not anything supposed to be on your brain. It was a pretty severe brain bleed. So they weren't sure, and that the biggest thing they could say is, we can't tell you what his future will look like, but he could not be able to do anything. He could lay in a bed for the rest of his life. He could be in a wheelchair. He could never ever be able to talk or walk or do any of those things. And we were scared. But we just tried to be very faithful and hoping that things would go the way that they were supposed to, so you could have a good, productive life. But the one thing is that we had a lot of trust and faith in Heavenly Father, that whatever things were supposed to be, the way it was supposed to be, is the way it was supposed to be. And we knew that He was very mindful of us, and we knew that He would guide us through it all. Because you had that brain bleed, you have cerebral palsy.
Yes.
Do you know what cerebral palsy is?
What?
It can affect multiple parts of your body and have different effects on your body. But the way that affected you was your legs. So it made it so your muscles have too much tone in them, which means your muscles work too hard. And we found out that you had cerebral palsy when you were about 5 months old. It was something that the therapist saw. The other thing you have is called What's the other thing you have?
Mm.
Hydrocephalus. So you had to have a shunt. Where's your shunt at? Can you feel it?
No.
It's on this side. It's not on that side. You actually have two. So you have one right here and you have one back in the back.
Mm-hmm.
You had to have brain surgery from the time you were a tiny baby. I think you were about not even a month old when you had your very first brain surgery. First surgery was to see if we could not make it so you had to have a shunt. But that didn't work. So then they had to put a shunt in your brain. And a shunt is where a little tube goes in your brain, in your ventricle, where your spinal fluid is produced. And it sucks out the spinal fluid. And so you've got the shunt is right here, and then you've got a tube that goes all the way down there and all the way down here. And then it just wraps up and is in your abdominal cavity, in your tummy. And the spinal fluid just drains in your belly. I would come to the hospital to see you every single day. And I would come and I would hold you and I would rock you. When they put your shunt in, you started acting different. You just weren't happy and I couldn't calm you. And so I told the nurses, something's not right. Something's not right with my baby. And they did tests to find out and they said, everything seems right. And I said, but something's not right. And they did some more tests later that night because they could tell too. And they did more tests and they found out that you had some kind of an infection. And then by the morning time, your body had swollen up so much that we had to transfer you, emergency transfer again, in an ambulance up to Primary Children's. So we got you up there, and Dr. Riva Cambrin was your doctor, and he said, this baby needs to get surgery right now. Right now. So we took you back and had surgery. They pulled your shunt out, and it was green. It had green slime on it from the infection. And then they had to leave the shunt out until the infection was gone. And at this point, you were almost ready to go home from the hospital. And they did what's called an external ventricle drain. And so you had this tube that was sticking out of your head. Did you know that? And it was connected to a bag. And so instead of the spinal fluid going in your tummy, it was going into this bag. One of the things that made you so happy was music. I could always turn music on for you and that would always make you feel better. And to this day, you still really love music. So finally, I think we had 30 days where you finally had no infection, no signs of infection. So they put a new shunt in. And the nurse said to me, let's get this baby home. He needs to go home. What grade are you in?
Third.
You're in 3rd grade. How old are you?
9.
You're 9. So you're getting to be so big. Do you like playing with friends?
Yeah.
What do you think about your story when we talk about it?
Mm.
There's some things that make you kind of sad, huh? But it's okay. It's okay to feel those feelings. I just think it's a super amazing story. And I can't wait to just keep watching you and to see all of the cool things that you're able to do. The way you have to do things are kind of hard sometimes. It's hard for you to do things that people take for granted every day. Like walking. Walking's kind of hard for you, huh? The majority of people do it and don't even think twice about it. What else is hard? Even just standing.
Hey, Mom.
You can do it. You can stand, but it's kind of hard, huh? I think you are just an awesome kid. And I love you so much. Do you love me? How much do you love me?
Very much.
Show me. Oh my gosh. That is a ton.
Mom.
I love you infinity. Do you know what that means?
What?
It's like never ending. You can't see the beginning nor the ending. But you got some pretty like cool battle wounds, don't you? You've got, look at that little 6-pack. You got a couple right there. And you've got some on your head from where they have to cut it open for your shunt. Okay, well, I love you.
I love you.
Thank you so much for doing this video with me. Oh my goodness, how are you so handsome? Thanks for watching this video and getting to know Lincoln.
Comment down below.
Give it a big thumbs up. And subscribe. And we will see you
next time. Make sure to hit that bell.
Bye.
Bye.